Hey guys, how's it going? Ghostly Rich here today, and today we're going to be starting to finish up the exhaust on the Corvette C7 project. So, first half of this, we did the headers. You want to go see how the headers are done? Go ahead, jump over to the video. I'll have it in the description. What we're going to be doing this time is we've got the X-pipe, and what we're doing is we're putting on some V-bands. Let's show you what those are going to look like. Ta-da! This is a V-band. Basically, they use them in aircraft. Actually, they're pretty much mandatory in aircraft. And the thing is when you're doing something like this, here, this is what the gentleman that removed it from his car did trying to remove it. So one thing is with V-bands, it makes it very easy to remove when you need to remove it, but also makes it more structurally sound when assembling it. So that way there's less chance of a leak. It makes everything fit really nice and tight, and best of all, usually you get way less exhaust rattle. Even if you V-band any box exhaust, which just stands for any prefabbed exhaust you buy in a box, and you throw those V-bands on there, it can make all the difference just by getting rid of those little compression clamps. So I'll leave it up to you. Either way, this is what we're doing, and let's get to it. If you're going to be welding, a couple things. Always make sure that you disconnect your battery, and there's no chance of your battery reconnecting. And if you have a charger like I have there, it is pulled out and not connected to the vehicle. The reason why is if you end up welding well, it's attached to the car and it grounds out, you're gonna fry all your systems. It's gonna really suck. So, like I said, disconnect your battery. Make sure if you have anything that could backfeed into the system, like a cell phone charging or anything, make sure you unplug everything from the cigarette lighters. So the first project of the day is to go ahead and nib off the flared ends with a grinder. So you could do this with a bandsaw or a grinder. If you're doing this project, chances are you know how to weld, and you don't need me to teach you how to do this. But like I said, we're just gonna nip these off first, and that way we can start grinding back little by little. As you can see, buttery smooth. Clean up the insides afterwards, but we have to do some more grinding anyway. But our phalanges, aka V-bands, slide right on there, and we should be able to just do some test fitting. After nipping off our flanged end, we found out, after lifting it up, we were literally a V-band away. So literally, it was just nipping off the flange. Now we're gonna nip this off. Nice and shiny and ready to go under. We'll double check, make sure, but so far, it's looking like a winner chicken dinner. As you can see, we ended up taking off in total, off the tip, the full flange, and then on top of that, in our case, about 3/4 of an inch, if you include the 2 cuts that we did, and it's gonna be perfect. Now, before you go and chop 3/4 of an inch, I would start at a 1/2 inch and then go from there. And the reason why I'm saying that is every vehicle is different. And if you go chopping, you'll see, like literally, as you got the flange, the 1/2 inch, and then the 1/4 inch, all right? So what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna quickly remove the diffuser right here, so that way we can pop the last piece of the exhaust out, because we wanna remove this to add the V-bands. Once we've done that, we can, of course, adapt the back end. But it's easier to weld these perfectly by popping them out, in my scenario, on jack stands. You could try and weld them if your welder is comfortable with doing it in the vehicle, but I'd rather just pull it out, weld them on, put it back in, and it's really not that hard. So let's show you how easy it is. So
up and in here, the light will adapt right there. You want to take out that 10 mil and the one right here. After that, you need to pull out, I think this is an 8 mil here, and 8 mil here, and all three of those on that side, and copy that right here. That one right there, and the 3 on the side right there. Next, take your license plate off if you've got it on, and remove that one, and remove that one. Once you've got those pretty loose in there, as you can see we were pretty loose, you can work it out. Get your finger up in there, and oh, look at that. She's loose in there. So now that we know that's loose, we don't want to completely pop it out yet. The reason why is because we still have to get the other side. So go do the exact same to the other side, pop it nice and loose, just like this. Another thing you can do, if you're worried about scratching up this area, just throw a little bit of painter's tape and do the same right here. Just for when you're wiggling these loose. Not the best painter tape job, but who cares? Just like I said, protect it up and in here. Once you got that tape there, you should be able to flex this out. Once you do that, feel for those barbs. I'll show you them once I get them. See, you press those. So press the gray one, press that gray one, press them. You don't even have to squeeze them. You just press them and they come out. All right, next thing you wanna do, take out the 2 screws here, go to the other side, do the exact same thing, these 2 screws here. All right, so we're gonna pop this off. Mika, yes, I love you. But we have to do this. Mika! Back up, okay? Please, just for a second. Try and get your hand around however you can. Next is to try and pop, just like that. Come over here, same way. That one clip, she might just hold in real well. From there, put this somewhere safe. I'm gonna put it in my trunk. See this clip right here? Need to slide the gray back. So all I did is I pulled back on the gray piece. Now that it's pulled back, compress and pull out. Do that on both valves. Get in here with a 13. Take this one out. Take this one out. Once you do that, look at this. They're all nice and free. So what we need to do next, that those are all out, it's time to pop these hanger bolts out. Take this one out. Take this one out. Once we take these 2 out, this will be free. As long as you've already taken the X pipe out like I have. When we pull these out, take this one out first because you can see it's in front. It'll literally curve around and come down like this. So pull out and down. You go to lift it out, there is another valve back here. And again, it has the exact same clip. So make sure you pop it open, clip, and disconnect. Literally, it's the same connector as right here, but back there as well. You have to pull it up, and if you pull it up, it pretty much just releases itself, right? So just make sure it's gonna be fun to get in there, but use a hook pick or a flat blade, do it. And then after you do that,
when you go to pull out this side, you're gonna notice right away, first thing you're gonna have to do, if you didn't do this before, and for me, this car's been sitting for a while, so I definitely have it. You pull the blade out, or in your case, piece of plastic, whatever you put, let that fall back on. You go like this. Lights come back on. You hear it power up a bit. First thing you're gonna wanna do, click and hold start until, or we'll let it do its warm up first, but click and hold start. You'll hear it make noise, but don't release yet. There. Ignore the dingingness. What we're gonna do is press the brake pedal and then shift it. Once you've shifted it all the way back, now you can go ahead and try and pull that piece out. Otherwise, your shift lever is right in the way. And if you go down there, you'll see it. It's on a bolt, it'll be shifted right into your way. Now it's gonna be really tight and close to get around, but at least it's doable. Like I said, you're gonna have to jack this up so you get a little bit more height if you're doing this on a jack. And what you have to clear is the diff in the back there. So I think I've got some pretty good height going on, but I'm gonna try and move it. If not, I ought to go up a little bit higher just to make it around there, because you don't want to be grinding on anything in there. Just like that. Looks like she is free. Just got to move this end out and this over here. This is under the vehicle. See, that's the transmission arm I'm talking about. See how I have shifted it back now and it's right in the way? If you're looking at your exhaust pipe, it's coming up through here. So this is the thing that you need to shift out of the way. Once you do, you'll have no problem with it, and well, it'll still be a little bit in the way. It's just I'd rather have that extra room than be grinding against these lines right here, because that would not be a very good idea. So, since we didn't have to grind against these lines, we were able to just shift her, like I said, forward, push through, and then I just shifted it back and pulled the power. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. See that inconsistency in the middle? Down inside that pipe? They've definitely got some bubblegum welds around these O2 bugs. It's really, like, if you're looking for smooth flow, kind of surprised for it being an American racing unit, so we might have to try and clean it up somehow, but it's going to be really hard. It's not like you can grind in there. So we cut this off of here. Why did we cut this off of here? If you were to take two V-bands, put them together, it would come to this rust line right here, and it would tell you need to cut this part off if you're V-banding on the end of the X pipe. When you do that, we would come over here and we would have to take off about what do you say, half an inch? And exactly half an inch off this end. So if you were to slide, well, I've already cut this one, but that one over there, if we were to slide this over, you would see it came right to this line, which that's how we got our measurements. We slid it over and then we seen it was 1/4 of an inch on, so you'd have to remove 1/4 of an inch on each side. We're just taking 1/2 inch off this side, so that way there's less for us to have to try and fish around in there, because if you pulled these pipes out, you know how little space you have in there, and as much as you can cut off of there so you have more maneuverability, the better. So there we are. So what we did is, like I said, right off of the piece that we had here, as we know that's 3 inch, and this is about, we'll say 2 3/4, somewhere in there, because we were able to slip the collar over that would normally go over this pipe, and then we slipped this on over top of it and we welded it all together. So we use that as a spacer. Again, if you're a welder, you know exactly what we're doing, and if you're not a welder, well, your welder is going to know exactly what we did. We literally just used the
spare pieces that we cut off the other pipe as a spacer in here, and then welded it here and welded it on the inside, and then smoothed it out with a grinder so it's a nice smooth tunnel. Well, there we go. V-bands are in. Time to slip in the last piece. Again, I've just lightly bolted this stuff in so that way I can test it. I want to test it, and then from there, I'll give you all the torque specs as I torque everything to spec. For the tips here, just make sure you put this on, and I would go to 18, which is right there. And again, that's without an extension. If you're using an extension, there we go. I'd go to 20 on those. So 18 for these, and then that one that's on the X pipe, go ahead and throw that one at 18 as well. From there, you can play around with these tips here. Again, I have a little bit more playing around, which I'll do at the very end, but you can tighten these two bolts if you want up to about the same, which is about 18 to 20 foot-pounds. Basically, you just need those things tight, so that way the tips aren't moving around. If they loosen off, you'll be able to tell because your tips, well, they'll start to go cockeyed and stuff like that. So once again, just if you want, throw those to about 18 to 20 foot-pounds. Next, slide these in. It's easiest to get the two center big tabs. You'll see where they slide in. Slide the two big center tabs in, then get the two outer center tabs and click those in first. And then these will just, like I said, naturally, these should just set from doing these. I just peeled the tape off, but make sure, like I said, have some tape there. So that way, just in case it rubs up a bit, you're not gonna cry because it rips your paint off. Anyways, from there, I'm not giving you a torque spec for these. Just put these bolts in. They go into speed clips, right, Mika? She's even getting annoyed with all my torque specs. So like I said, if you want, you could throw a little bit of blue Loctite on these ones. But yeah, go ahead, throw these screws in so you can pop your reflectors back in. After you get these screws tightened in here, go ahead, take these guys and just simply squish them in and press them in so those hooks lock in. And that's it. Do the same to the other side. And if you don't know which is which, don't worry. Right hand has right hand and left hand has left hand. And how it's done is if you're sitting in the driver's seat, that is your left hand and that is your right hand. Remember, 4 7mm in the corner, bottom corner, then 7mm, and then goes all the way to the other side, do the exact same thing. Just tighten them up with your hand. Don't go crazy. They're just holding in the plastic together, nothing structural. Last 4 bolts, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Go ahead, put the 4 black bolts into there, and your bumper cover is back on. For your V-bands, put your V-bands at about 12 to 15 foot-pounds. You'll see, even if you're just at the start, when you get going, these things sync up nicely. If you feel any binding all the way down, it means your V-band might not be sitting right. Just double check and make sure she's sitting flat and that they're both being squished together and that they aren't cockeyed. From there, if you do those two, you'll go down to the other side and do that one. I haven't welded this yet, so I ended up putting a bolt there for right now. I'll probably end up, just throwing a small weld right there. That way I don't have to have that bolt there. And what last? Oh yes, right here. Make sure you go in here and you put those 2 bolts at 18 foot-pounds. So those 2 are 18. After you get that, we need to address the wiring over here. I will show you after I'm done that. I just got to figure out where I'm going to tuck it because you don't want it leaning on the exhaust. Even though it's got this heat coating on it, last thing you want is it getting melted through. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and start your car. If you don't want to start it right now and you want to finish it up, and throw that belly pan on. The 2 biggest bolts, which are on the far end, those go to about 70, 74 foot-pounds. And then all the little guys go to 20. So go ahead and just start going along and put them all at 20, and then the 2 big ones at 74. And if you're like me and you did the headers and it has that cross brace that goes across the header, you could probably do that to around 74 as well. But either way, that is about it. And then we get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So let's go ahead, finish tidying this thing up and start it.
If you're like me and you ceramic coated your headers, don't get scared when it starts up. You're gonna see some smoke. That's gonna just be from, of course, the oils and everything that was done during processing, plus from you putting them on, burning off. So you are gonna see a bit of smoke. Don't be scared. All in all, it's awesome. It gives it definitely a way deeper growl. I was totally worried, but no. It's perfect volume level. It's definitely quieter than my Hemi Jeep, that's for sure. But it's super, when you get on it, oh, you hear it. When I did those revs, that was only to 3,000 RPM, by the way. Give you a quick look at the P3 gauge I put in. That extra bung that's in there, I'm probably gonna put a wideband sensor in so I can do some readings off there, but all in all, gotta say, it's awesome. Also, don't forget, if you're just like me and you just put the headers in the exhaust and you have a dry sump tank, you have to check your oil level after you warm up to the designated amount, which I think is like 176 or something. I'll let you know once it gets there. One last thing I decided to do is I put these spark plug wire boots on. And the reason why is I was really worried about the header heat, because it's not like the cast, it's gonna radiate a lot more heat. So what I ended up doing was, well, throwing those socks on. And by doing so, it should help. And what was really awesome is I was able to take back one of my V-bands because I bought some extras, and it cost, I mean, it was pretty much a wash for the socks or the boots, whatever you want to call them. And now I know they'll be all right. These ones are from Performance World. That's the natural colored ones. Anyways, let's take a step back and enjoy. We've got the oil back in the engine. We've got everything bolted up and bolted down, and I think we're ready to go. Anyways, thanks again for watching. Press a like if it helped you out, and of course, subscribe for more. Who knows what I'm doing next on this thing? Probably a front splitter, maybe the sides. As you can see, the previous owner, well, must have hit a few things. So I'm gonna do probably the ZR1 ones, and then maybe gonna do the ZR1 wing. I don't know which one. If I'm just gonna do like the Z06 style or Z07, whatever they call it, or if I'm going to do the full wing from the ZR1 series. We'll see. A super cool note for you, since I'm running front and rear O2s, even though I don't have any cats on, I have no check engine light. So if you don't want to check engine light and you don't want to tune your car, just know if you plug in both the O2 sensors, front and rear O2s, you don't get a check engine. Mind you, it might change when I start driving, but just a heads up.